All right. So, like what I was talking about, today we are doing recap. So, review so far as exams is concerned. So, like I said, we might not necessarily look at everything on the topic, but we are looking at the salient points. However, for my slide, I have prepared it for class sake, for teaching sake. So because of that, the slide might contain a lot. But as I'm going through, I'll be pinpointing or I'll be highlighting the salient areas that will be necessary for you so far as exams is concerned. So don't be bothered about the how bulky the document might be. So, like I was saying, when it comes to law, sometimes they can ask you a very simple question. This normally happens in constitutional law, Ghana legal system, and sometimes some of the other laws. They can ask you a very simple question. Land law is also part. They can ask you a very simple question. Explain allodial title. If you don't take care, you just go straight and explain the allodial title. They can say explain land, or discuss land, or write about land, or what is land. You can't just go straight and say land is this. That one is not a science. It's not science. It is not social studies. We don't just go straight. So if you are being told to write about land, how are you going to approach it? Put it down. Number two, how do we approach essay type questions in law? Very, very important. Essay type questions in law must begin with introduction. You begin with introduction. Within your introduction, you have to get thesis statement, you have to get an organization. It is too late now to talk about it, but I'm just giving you a brief idea about it. So introduce what you're coming to explain. Don't just go straight to say land is. No. There has been a lot of definitions and discussions on land. The concept of land has obtained a lot of scholastic views, of which Kluge also says something about it. Another important view is what Bengt H. Enchel also said, though you haven't said anything, but you are giving overview. You are letting the examiner get to know that, yes, you have learned the thing. So the situation whereby the examiner might not get time to read everything, the examiner will at least look at the intro alone. So within the intro, then you let them know that in this essay, I am going to explain the term land, assess biblical view of land, assess the legal view of land. Also, I will assess some various textbooks, what they have said, some various textbooks, what they have said about land, or what some learned authors have said about land. I will list some characteristics of land, or some of the characteristics of land. And I will end with the concept of ownerless of land. So that the question is one who explain land. You don't just go straight and explain land. No. Give introduction. In the introduction, give us what you are coming to discuss. Introduction talks about what you are coming to discuss. Body, the body talks about what you are discussing. And the conclusion talks about what you discussed. That is how we answer law questions. In this essay, I will discuss, then you start with the items I gave you. So at least I'm going to project the items I mentioned So please be taking screenshot of whatsoever I'm showing you. Take screenshot and be learning from that, because I'm sorry I might not be able to share the slide with you. So be taking screenshots. At least not that plenty, so that you can rely on them. So introduction. So look at this. This is, if you are able to write an examination hall to cover this, A, you are beyond A. You are beyond A. I'm telling you. If you're able to write to cover this, you are beyond A. Introduce the topic. Explain the term land. Assess biblical view of land. Assess the legal view of land. Assess various textbooks view on land. List some of the characteristics of land. Talk about the concept of ownerless of land, and then conclude. At the moment you are able to do this, then you're good to go. But don't forget, under this course, you are dealing with Land Act 2020 at 1036. So you can say, you can shorten it and say that according to Act 1036, don't be wasting time. Say, Land Act 2020 at 1036 says that. No, you're wasting your time. If you say that, it is cool though, but you're wasting your time. You can say Act 1036. You don't have any other Act at 1036 here which talks about land in Ghana. Act 1036 is one. It's only one. We don't have any other Act 1036 that talks about criminal offenses or criminal procedures. We don't have other Act 1036 that talks about something else, so far as Ghana is concerned. So Act 1036, everyone knows that it talks about land. As how when you say Act 29, everyone knows that it talks about criminal offenses. Act 30 talks about criminal procedures and code. So Act 1036, everyone knows that it talks about land. So please, you have to get to understand this. Understand it once and for all. So let's go straight. What therefore is land? What therefore is land? Remember, I told you the thing might be bulky, but I will be looking at the most important aspects. What therefore is land? What therefore is land? What therefore is land? Now, when you look at the Land Act 1036, as well as the 1992 Constitution, so you have to bring it on board that in order to define land, there are two statutory documents, that there are two documents, or there are two authorities that I will be making reference from, or source of authorities. There are two source of authorities that I will be making reference from. Or in order to discuss the concept of land, I will make good use of the 1992 Constitution and the Land Act 2020 at 1036. So that from there going, when you say that according to the Constitution of Ghana, everyone will know that it's 1992. Or according to the Constitution, everyone will know that it's 1992. According to the Land Act, you can decide not to even add the rest. You said according to the Land Act, everyone will get to know that it is Act 1036 or Land Act 2020 at 1036. It is very important. It is very, very, very important. It is very, very, very important. So that is how it is. So quickly, we are going. All right. What is land? What is land? What is land? What is land? Before we could explain land, we must know that physical properties could be grouped into two based on their mobility. Number one is movable property. Number two is immovable property. This is the reason for the study of the course, land law. Immovable properties are assets that cannot be moved from one place to the other without causing damage or destruction to it. Example of this is land, house. So we are trying to bring on board that if you want to discuss land, differentiate movable properties from immovable properties. Differentiate movable properties from immovable properties. At the moment you're able to differentiate movable properties from immovable properties, then you let us know that land is an immovable property. Then our discussion begins. If land is part of immovable property, then what therefore is an immovable property? You say something about it. Then from there, you say that some categories of items may be seen as movable, but may have become so attached to the land that they are regarded as part of the land. House is an immovable property, but house is not land. But house is attached to the land, so it automatically becomes part of the land. Plants like dawa, cocoa, the rest, they are not land, but they are attached to the land, so they are regarded as land. Bring it to notice that there are some objects which falls under the category of immovable property. However, they are so attached to the land, and because of that, they are regarded as land. This is the reason for the masem, quit, plantator, solo, sidit. You can forget it. It is not important. This is the reason for the concept. Anything that attaches itself to the land becomes part of the land. Simplicity. It is not important to be using the Latin. This is the reason for the saying that the owner of the land also is the owner for anything that attaches itself to the land. You can also use this one. You are building your point. You are coming. Dear, let me tell you, for you to get maximum marks, you should be getting somewhere 3 pages, 4 pages. That makes sense. So pack it, load it with some of these things. The person, the examiner will say, you know the concept. The question is, what is land? Or explain the concept land. It is just like that too. But before you finish it, it has to cover the entire topic. Then, so now we have gotten to know that anything that attaches itself to the land becomes part of the land. So now we have introduced what movable property is, what immovable property is. We have given example of immovable property. It means that we have left movable. Don't forget the course you are learning is immovable. So now we have left movable. That's how we do it. You don't say that we'll focus on this. Or you can even say it that, oh, okay, I'll focus on this, but it is not that necessary. You become silent on the irrelevant one, then you focus on the relevant one. Example of movable, immovable property, house, land. Then you bring the concept that there are certain things that are attached to the land. And by the virtue of that, they have been considered as part of the land. This calls for the masem, he who owns the earth, owns anything that is attached to it. We have established that premise. About 5 lines, 6 lines, you have used that one to discuss this. 7 lines, you have used that one to discuss this. You are now coming into the land. If land is part of immovable property, what therefore is it? Then you go to section 46, authorities. Authorities, underline all your authorities, whether it is a case or it is a statute or it is a constitutional provision. Make sure to underline it. Underline all your authorities. Please, if there is any problem that you are facing, then you let me know. You can raise up your hand. I will attend to you accordingly. If you're facing any problem, you can draw my attention. So land, Section 46 of the Current Interpretation Act. Current. This is the Current Interpretation Act. It defines immovable property as land. We began with movable and immovable. We talk about movable, what it means. Example of immovable. Now, Section 46 of the Current Interpretation is bridging the gap that immovable property is land. So you defined immovable, you are narrowing it down to land. Section 46 of the Current Interpretation at 2009 at 792. Section 46 of the Current Interpretation at 2009 at 792 defines immovable property as land. Therefore, immovable property means land. Therefore, immovable property means land. Then you continue. You let them know that yes, land has not gotten a definite and exhaustive definition. Land, however, so after giving this definition, then you bring it to notice that in as much as the framers of the statute have tried their best to define land, this definition is not exhaustive. It is not exhaustive. Therefore, I will begin with my analysis. Number one, what does the Bible say about land? According to the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 1, says that in the beginning God created heaven and the earth. That one is authority. Genesis 1:1 is authority. You underline it. In the beginning God created heaven and the earth. Please, let me tell you this. It is not always compulsory to say everything verbatim. Most of you don't know this. It is not by force. Here, if I don't want to say this one verbatim, Genesis chapter 1 verse 1, if I don't want to say it verbatim, then I say that Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 says that God is the owner of earth, or God is the owner of land. Over here, I didn't quote. If you can quote, that is good. If you cannot quote, it is equally good. But you say what is there from your understanding. That Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 says that God is the owner of land. So you analyze from biblical perspective. You just bring that one in and then you're good to go. All these ones are. So that one too, you criticize that, however, the verse does not define land. However, Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 does not define land. It does not define land. It just said that God is the owner of land. God is the creator of land. But it did not define what land means. Don't forget that the question under discussion is right on land or discuss land or what is land. You don't just go straight and write the definition of land. Definition of land alone is 2 lines. So you are analyzing them one after the other. Movable, immovable. Then you pick immovable. Land is part of immovable. Section 46 of the Interpretation Act, 2009. I think 792. Then that one establishes the fact that immovable property is the same as land. It means that land and immovable properties could be used interchangeably. Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 says that God is the creator of land. However, the verse did not define what land means, or did not define land. The verse did not define land. If that be the case, then what does the law also say about land? So you see that now you have started with the analysis. The Interpretation Act has come in. It is authority. Section 46 of the Interpretation Act, Current Interpretation Act 2009. It's an authority. Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 is an authority. What does the law say about land? So now you are coming to talk about the legal perspective, what the law also says about land. What the law also says about land. That's what we are coming to talk about. So we are going to look at statutory. When you talk about statutory, statute, the laws that have been passed by Parliament. Now, Section 32 of the now repealed Interpretation Act. Please don't forget, the initial one was the current Interpretation Act. This repealed Interpretation Act 1960 was the one that was in existence before the current one, 2009 or so, came to repeal this one. So this one has been repealed. However, you are trying to bring this on board, like you are trying to juxtapose it with the current one. So you see that the Section 32 of the now repealed Interpretation Act 1960 gives the definition of land as land includes land covered by water, any house, building, or structure whatsoever, and any estate, interest, or rights in or to or over land or water. Land includes land covered by water, any house, building, or structure whatsoever, and any estate, interest, or right in, to, or over land or water. Please, like I said, don't waste your time be chewing all this one in your mind. You can paraphrase it in your own words. That according to Section 32 of the new repealed Interpretation Act 1960, it says that land includes water, houses, buildings, structures, etc. I hope you are getting it, etc. So it is not mandatory. It is not compulsory for you to give all of them. No, you are writing, so you can paraphrase. It says this. So that one too, it has given you a definition. Remember, I'm giving you almost all of them so that you pick some of them or you pick all. It does not mean that you should give all. You can do one. You can use the current Interpretation Act. You forget about the repealed one. However, if you're able to quote it, then you're good to go. It makes your work become nice, so rich. So that is how it is. Now, we have the English law of property. That one, you can ignore it. Like I told you, it is not mandatory to be stating all of them. You can ignore this one. Then, so under statutory, we have gotten the current Interpretation Act, Section 46. We have gotten the repealed, 1960 repealed. We have gotten Section 32. Two statutory. You're good to go. Two statutory. You're good to go. Two statutory. You're good to go. Then you go to textbook. So now we have discussed Bible perspective. We have discussed statutory. Now we are on textbook. Textbook definitions of land. Textbooks definitions of land. Textbook definitions of land. So textbook, under the legal framework of Ghana, textbooks, there are some recommended textbooks that are also accepted. So don't forget. So they also one way or the other become authorities. So please don't be confused about them. So let's go straight. Principles of customary law of Ghana. Olenu J is a very popular man. Olenu J defines land to include things on the soil which has become part of the land by nature. Please, like I'm telling you, you are not supposed to chew everything. Oh. You can forget about the title of the book. You can say that Olenu J in his book. Olenu J in his book. J means justice. Olenu J in his book explain land or define land to include things on the soil which has become part of the land by nature, the things on the soil, the things on the soil, which has become part of the land by nature. Don't forget what I told you when we began. We said the land over there, from there, quick, plenty. They said that anything that attaches itself to the land also become part of it. So Ole Nuje said that land includes soil, which has become part of the land by nature. Anything which has become part, like palm trees, dawa trees, etc. Then you do that and you continue. So that is how it is. At least you have gotten Ole Nuje's definition. You have Benchi Enchel. Benchi Enchel. You have Benchi Enchel. Benchi Enchel. Benchi Enchel. So Benchi Enchel, you try to establish the relationship between land and man. You can forget this. Like I told you, if you're able to say it, it's nice. But at least you have gotten one. Ole Nuje. Don't forget. Ole Nuje. You have gotten Ole Nuje. Ole Nuje. You have gotten Ole Nuje. So you're good to go. You're good to go. You can also critique Ole Nuje's definition. You can critique by saying that Ole Nuje's definition is not exhaustive because it describes what land is, but it doesn't talk about what land actually is. It describes, it says land includes, talks about the scope of land, but it doesn't define what land means. It describes it. The land includes. Land includes. Okay, so now we are done with what land means. We started with movable and immovable. Land is part of immovable. It's an example, house, land. We established that fact. We came down to the section 42 of the interpretation, the current one. Then we narrow it down to understand that the interpretation axis that immovable property is land. So now we got to know that immovable property is the same as land. We came down to the book of Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. What the Bible says, God is the owner, but the quotation is not exhaustive because it only gave us the owner of the land, but it never defined what land means. From there, we came down to the repealed. We analyzed that one accordingly as the statute interpretation. From there, we came to textbook Ole Nuje, define it to include. He too said include. Then you criticize that definition is not exhaustive because it describes land, but it doesn't talk about what land means. So that is how it is. Then once you have established that, then quickly you go to characteristics of land. Characteristics of land. Characteristics of land. Mention some characteristics of land. Characteristics of land. Don't define. If you define, you're good to go. But that isn't your focus. Don't forget that your focus has been achieved. That is what is land. Now you have analyzed them. So these ones, you are just adding them up to get match marks. That's right. Yes. Land has gotten a lot of characteristics, which includes. Then you just list them. Just list them. Don't waste time to explain them. Just list them. We have what is called permanence. You have what is called imperishability, which is durability. You have what is called income and capital value, necessity, indestructible. Don't waste your time. You just bring some of them, not necessarily all of them, some of them that you'll be able to recall. You bring some of them. Some of these ones, you bring them. You let the examiner get to know that you know the characteristics of land. And then the final aspect, don't forget, is the ownerless of land in Ghana. Ownerless of land in Ghana. Then you let us know that over the years, there has been an argument on the ownerless of land. Ownerless of land. This talks about whether there is a land in Ghana here which doesn't have an owner, which doesn't have an owner, whether there is a land in our present state, in our present Ghana, which doesn't have an owner. And the answer is all the lands in Ghana now have owners. So you bring that one to bear, that even as we are talking about land, there's a particular argument that has persisted for some years now, and that is the ownerless of land. I hereby add my voice to it that there is no land in Ghana which does not have an owner. If you want to add what others have said, you can talk about what Olenuje, what he said. You can also talk about what this Phantom man. Oh, I think he was the first lawyer in Ghana also. Mensah Saba. When he was writing about Fanti customary law, I think that was somewhere in 1904. He stated it in page 271. So you can see that one, that Mensah Saba also added his voice to it. So we are done with land. We are done with land. If you're able to write something like this, then you're good to go. You're good to go. Okay, so let me hear your questions on land before we move on to Allodia title. Yes, your questions are welcomed. Your questions are welcomed. Please, can you hear me? Can you hear me, please?
Yes, please. We can hear you. I can hear you. I don't know if others.
Okay, thank you. All right. Do you have any question for me?
No, please.
Okay. Is it well understood?
Very well. You've made it easier for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, all right. My pleasure. So that is how it is. I think now we can go to our key iPhone. Your hand is up. You can talk now.
Yes. Pardon me, but it looks like the network made me skip something. But I overheard you say Olenuje's definition was not
Exhaustive.
kind of exhaustive. Yes, but I have a definition I think kind of covers everything.
Okay.
Yeah. For example, he says that the land includes land itself, that is the surface soil, things on the soil which are enjoined with it as being part of the land by nature, gives examples, then goes ahead to describe artificial things too, including buildings and structures, and continues to even talk about the estates, the interest or rights in the land. So I am kind of like, what other things have been left out of this?
All right. When you talk about land, no one can give. You see, you said include. I don't know whether you are getting it.
Yeah.
Includes means what you have listed is not exhaustive. I don't know whether you are getting it.
Okay.
You said includes. We are saying what is land? And you are saying land includes. It's like what is land? What is phone? And you say phone includes iPhone. What is phone? You say phone includes Samsung, Motorola. If you bring it down like that, you understand. What is phone? You say phone includes Tecno, Samsung, iPhone. I hope you are getting it.
Yes, but I was also looking at the definition from the Black's Law Dictionary.
Okay.
And I think both of them were saying almost the same things.
No, you see, it is not about they saying the same thing. No. Supreme Court will even say something, but you can criticize.
Oh, okay.
I hope you are getting. There has not been a decisive, a conclusive, and exhaustive definition for land.
Okay, I get it. All right.
So they can even bring that on your question. That is there any exhaustive, decisive, and conclusive definition on land?
Okay.
The first thing to begin with is no. Before you continue, long questions. Sometimes they can ask.
I think I get it now, because I was going to ask whether there is an accepted definition.
Definition.
But I think you've answered that already.
Very good. So like what I was what I was about saying, I don't know how the lecturer might put it, but because I'm recording, that's why I don't want to mention anyone's name. Because if not, probably when it gets somewhere, it will be a little bit something. But sometimes they can say that, okay, is there any conclusive or decisive or exhaustive definition on land? It's just like this. So now the question is, are you going to write no? You see law questions. You can't just write no and present it for 20 marks. No. The question that they have asked is teasing your understanding on the concept of land. They want you to write on land. But you see how they have put the question. The question is just asking for yes or no answer. But if you write yes or just no alone, then you are doomed. So I think that's how it is. So without taking much time again, I think we can now move on to allodial title, if there is no further question. Shall we move on? Shall we move on, please? Hello?
Yes, on my part.
Okay. All right.